Hello and welcome to another episode of Mean Brews. Today I'm covering the style California Common, which is also known as steam beer. It's America's first original style of beer, so let's get right into the data. I have 24 winning California Common recipes, 2 of which were best of show, 15 gold, 1 silver, 4 bronze, and 4 award winning. This was the very first mean brew style I ever brewed back in 2008, and I'm happy to say that the first competition I entered with this mean brew style, I won a Bluebonnet Brew Off beer stein, which is the largest homebrewing competition in the world, single site. So quite happy with this recipe, and I think you will be too. The BJCP style is 19B, a light, fruity beer with firm, grainy maltiness, interesting toasty and caramel flavors, and showcasing rustic, traditional American hop characteristics. When we look at the stability, we see that very little evolving on this style. As well as the variation between recipes, moderate variation, but nothing to write home about. Original gravities of the winning beers, again, tended towards the high side of the BJCP range, with the mean being 1.053. For IBUs, again, balanced with the original gravity, however, on the high side with a mean of 41. We did have some reaching all the way up to 51 IBUs. With the color, the mean was 4.3, but a big range from 7 to 20 on the color. When you look at the evolution of the color, you can see it's gone somewhere up between 14 all the way down to 10. Give you an idea of, we had one up here at 20. Give you an idea of the difference between 20 and 10. These are the two SRM colors for those two ranges. Quite a bit of difference. For the average malt percentages, 83% was base malt on average, right around 12% crystal, 4% toast, a little bit of roast, and a little bit of adjunct, but not anything you would consider unless you're looking for color modification. For the base malts, the most prominent was American 2-row. 96% of the recipes used an American 2-row at an average rate of 74% of the grist, all the way down to minimum was right around 33%. Next most highest used was Munich. 50% of the recipes used Munich malt at an average of around 12% of the grist. And then we had some others down here. We had Vienna, 6-row, and Maris Otter. A couple recipes each used those, but we won't get into those details. Crystal malts, again, most prominent, probably Crystal 60. 65% of the recipes used a medium crystal malt at around 7.5% of the grist. And light crystal, this would be your 10 through 40. We had 58% use that at 7.8% of the grist. Carapils, the next, at 35% of the recipes using Carapils. 6.5% of the grist was the average used. And then one recipe used a dark crystal at right around 3.5%, but we won't consider that. Toast and roast malts, the most prominent was a biscuit or a victory. 27% of the recipes used a biscuit or victory malt at an average of 5.1% of the grist. Chocolate malt, 27% of the recipes used chocolate malt, mainly for a color modifier, average of 1% of the grist. And the next most prominent, amber, and the other malts used amber malt, special roast, toasted 2-row, honey malt, black patent, all below the threshold where I would say consider using them in my recipe. Adjuncts, we had flaked barley, flaked corn, and torrefied wheat, a single recipe each, right between 2 and 4% of the grist. Unless you're looking for some sort of body modifier or head retention modifier here, I wouldn't use an adjunct in this style. If you're looking at one of the evolutions of this style, it's the propensity to use toasted malts. All the way back to 1995 to today, we see an increase from practically nothing to almost every recipe using them, as high as a 28% or 26% usage here back in the 2000s. However, I would stick to the 5% range for this style nowadays. We're seeing the same with the roast, from nothing to about 0.6 or 1%, somewhere in that range for roast malts. I think people were getting their color originally with a high amount of crystal malts, and backing that off and sticking with base malts reduces the color, so they need to bring it back with their roast or some sort of roast malt to bring the color back into the beer. Bittering hops used, there's no question Northern Brewer is the hop to use for this style. You'll see this throughout every single one of the hop additions. So there were some usage of Cascade, but Northern Brewer is the most prominent. Whirlpool hops, only 15% of the recipes use Whirlpool hops. Northern Brewer, again, be the most prominent. Dry hops, only 12% of the recipes use dry hops. Again, Northern Brewer. It is the hop for the style for sure. It's the most prominent here as well. As for the rate of hop additions, you can see right almost 90% of the recipes use the flavor hop addition. 88% at 0.2 ounces per gallon. That's about 1 ounce in a 5-gallon batch. Let's see, 73% used an aroma hop at 0.18 ounce per gallon, again at around 1 ounce per 5-gallon batch. I guess 15% and right over 10% for Whirlpool and aroma. It wouldn't hurt to do it. I mean, these are styles that carry those hop flavors very well, but it's not needed to win medals, obviously. If you're looking at late hop evolution, these are flavor and aroma hops, and the hop rates, you'll see that they're going up substantially over time. I call this the IPA effect. So both of them are right around 0.2 for flavor and aroma, but nowadays they're increasing more to around the 0.25, 0.3 ounces per gallon range. Something to consider when you're looking for competition beers. You may want to bump up those late hops, and may even add a Whirlpool or a dry hop to accentuate those hop flavors. Mash types, 68% use a single infusion mash, 26% use a step mash, 5% use a decoction. The one recipe that used a decoction was mine. I figured the German brewers that came over probably decocted, and sure enough, I won a gold medal with the decocted beer of a California Common. Doesn't seem to be much of importance to winning a medal. However, if you feel up to it, go ahead and do a step or decoction mash. As for the rests, protein rest was right at 127 mean for around 20 minutes average. The beta rest was 143 mean for an average of 30 minutes. And the alpha rest was at 152 for an average of 67 minutes. Boil duration, 75 minutes was the mean, ranging from an hour to 110 minutes. But you're seeing over time with the quality malts that we're getting from our suppliers, our maltsters, the need for boiling off DMS precursors is going away, and people are gravitating to a 60-minute boil, and that's what I'm going to recommend. As far as the yeast used, there's only one yeast, I think, for this style that really makes it, and it's the California lager yeast, which is Y yeast 2112, White Labs 810. This is the anchor strain. Some people have also had success with Chico, K97, which is German, Kolsch yeast, and Danstar and Nottingham. 4% used one recipe used the Danstar and Nottingham strain. I would stick to the proven yeast for this style. There also comes in dry form in Mangrove Jack's M54 if you like working with dry yeast. Fermentation temperature. This is a style that's supposed to be fermented. It's supposed to use a lager strain that's fermented warm, and this ranged from lagering temperatures all the way up to ale temperatures, with the average being 63. I'm going to shoot for the average, but you could definitely go on either end of this. I think this strain is pretty intolerant to temperature. That's the characteristic of the California lager strain. If you're using the any other strain of yeast, you definitely want to aim towards the clean style. If you're using an ale yeast, go on the lower end of the temperatures, but sticking with the this is wrong, by the way, it's 63. Sticking with the 2112, 810, shoot for the mid-60s and you'll be fine. Other variables, the average carbonation volume was 2.7 volumes of CO2. Excuse me. All right, my suggested recipe, I'm going to stick with 77% US 2-row and 7% IRX Munich malt. You can also substitute that for Munich 1 from Fireman if you want to. I'm going to use some Crystal 20, 5% Crystal 20, 5% Crystal 60, 4% Victory malt, 1% Carapils, and 1% chocolate malt. All these malts were highly used throughout all the recipes. I know it looks complicated, but trust me, it works. I've got the medals to prove it. For my hops, I'm going to use Northern Brewer, 26, 27 IBUs of Northern Brewer at 60 minutes. And then I'm going to use 0.2 ounces per gallon of Northern Brewer. That's a 1 ounce and 5 gallon batch at 15 minutes and at flame out. And I'm going to use the 2112 Yeast Lager strain, California Lager. I'm going to shoot for original gravity of 1.053, around 39 to 41 IBUs. Water chemistry, not a lot was reported, but I suggest using Ember Balanced. Adjust pH to 5.4 with acid malt, or use your favorite mash acid. I use lactic acid. That seemed to be the sweet spot, 5.4. Mash at 152 for 1 hour. I'm going to do a single infusion mash. Sparge and boil for 60 minutes or until you reach your volume and gravity that you want. Chill to 63, oxygenate, and pitch a healthy pitch of your yeast. Recommend making a yeast starter for this one. Ferment it at 63, and then towards the end, when you see it tailing off in the gravity, raise it to 68 as the fermentation is slowing. Cold crash it and lager it for 1 month, and then keg or serve. All right, that does it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed today's. I'm going to put a poll up for the next style. Since I now have enough users to have a community and put up a poll, I'm going to put a few styles on there that I think would be fun to do and let you guys choose what style I'll do next. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.